Hey guys, this video is going to be long. I can tell you that right now, just based on all the things that I want to say. Also, I'm sick, which is why I sound so terrible. I've been sick since Thursday. I had to miss school Friday. I hate missing school. Ugh. Except for, like when there's a day off and everyone misses. I hate missing stuff, though. That didn't make much sense, I don't think. Anyway. So this weekend I went to the Fringe Festival, which is like a new thing that they're doing here in Rochester, and I saw Bandaloop, and they danced on the side of buildings. I'm going to put that over what I'm saying right now because I took a video. I actually made a YouTube video out of all of the footage I took and posted it on the YouTubes, and I'll link to that, like, here. It was so cool. Later we went to some dumb thing called Astro Dance, which sounded cool because it was like astrophysics meets dance. And then it was like girls dressed in starry unitards and skirts throw around glowy balls. It was totally lame, and then the newspaper wrote like this glowing review of it. Pun intended. But the newspaper was like, it was so great! But it was so not great. Because it was the sort of thing that only makes sense if you already know the physics stuff behind it, and even then makes it look really stupid. And the guy narrating it and announcing it had this, ridiculous way of talking that made me not want to take it seriously. Astro Dance is the story of gravitational waves. And you could tell also that he didn't really know anything about astrophysics. Not that I know anything about astrophysics either, but he didn't seem to. Anyway, it was dumb. I had this really great example of how dumb it was, but that would take 10 minutes to tell, so I'm not gonna do it. But it was really stupid. But at least Bandaloop was awesome. They were hanging from the side of a building, and it was even windy, and they were still frickin' awesome. Anyway, I'm just gonna eat pumpkin bars while making this video. Om nom nom. Ah. So, apparently our theme this week is music, and before I talk about that, two things to mention. Both landmarks. One, this is my 10th video, double digits, which means it's the 10th week that we've been doing this, which is awesome. I'm so glad it's lasted that long. And second, this is the first time we've had two themes I'd say two themes in 2 weeks, but no. 2 themes, 1 theme each week in 2 weeks. Like 1 theme 1 week and then 1 the next. We haven't skipped a week. Anyway, music. So I was raised on weird things like the B-52s and They Might Be Giants and Bob Marley. My parents have eclectic taste. I also do. And then I didn't really start listening to my own music until I got a Walkman. And then I borrowed CDs from my parents until they bought me a Queen CD, which I loved because it was the first CD I ever owned. And then I borrowed my sister's Styx CD, and I listened to that stuff for a while in 6th grade. And then in 7th and 8th grade I went through this really dumb Japanese music phase. It wasn't even good Japanese music, it was like the openings to Gundam and stuff. I don't really do anime or manga anymore. But I loved the music for whatever reason. And then my friend introduced me to Streetlight Manifesto, and I started listening to all sorts of ska, which I still love. Streetlight is still my favorite band. And I saw them in concert a few years ago. That was awesome. And I also still listen to They Might Be Giants, whom I also saw in concert, and Jonathan Colton, and all that sort of stuff. All the things that I found on that the Pandora stations of those things, because Pandora is the best. And that brings me to the fact that Zachy went to the Jonathan Colton concert that I really wanted to go to. And I can tell you it was on June 5th, and that was also the day of the transit of Venus. And I didn't get to experience either because I was at the awards ceremony for my school. Fun. I got to sit there for 3 hours and watch other people get awards. I got one that I'm probably not even going to use because it was a scholarship to a college I don't want to go to. But I got to sit there for 3 hours and watch other people get awards while thinking, there's a Colton concert going on, and the transit of Venus, and this is the last thing I'd want to be doing. But yeah, how was it though? Was it awesome? I bet it was awesome. After watching Raven's video, I started writing down things to respond to you guys with, but because after watching Raven's video, the only video this week that I hadn't watched was Zach's. I have like a ton of things from that I wanted to say things to, but it's because that's when I started writing things down. Next week I'll have like a whole notebook full of things. Maybe if I keep remembering to write things. Anyway though, so, responding to you guys. Also, so, Zach, you said that you like to multitask while focusing. I can totally get that. Like, I doodle in class all the time to focus. Like, it's easier than looking at the people. I draw on note cards. I have like an entire bin full of, like, an entire bin. It's huge. There's way too many of them. But so I can totally understand, like, the whole not paying attention to pay attention sort of thing, which is weird. But I don't think it's an our generation thing, because my mother is always like, I doodled so much in class and I totally understood it better. She doesn't talk like that. Also, the whole Les Mis thing, Gino and Zach. I'm going to audition. I probably won't get in, because even, like, I'm auditioning for Mrs. Thénardier, which is, like, ridiculous, silly role that you don't have to sing well for. But there are 2 other people who have been doing choir longer who are also auditioning for that. And one of them is a senior, so, yeah. But, and also, I have auditioned for something before. 3 things. I auditioned for 1X sophomore year and I got in. And then I auditioned and was in Winners in the fall of last year. I have the t-shirt. It was a really depressing show, but it was really super fun to be in because there were only 3 other people in the cast, and it was great. The cast parties were wonderful. And then I auditioned for 1X last year and I didn't get in, but most of them weren't funny anyway, so I'm not too sad. But yeah, like, I've had audition experience. For Winners, I memorized my monologue. It was really long and I had to say it in an Irish accent. My accent was not good, which is why I got the narrator part. Bryden, I use Windows Movie Maker already. I don't know if it's the version you mentioned, and I don't have the plugins, but I use Windows Movie Maker. Also, my Windows XP isn't exactly new, so it's probably not the version. But I wasn't sure because I've heard a lot of people be like, Windows Movie Maker is so stupid, and I kind of considered it to be like the MS Paint of video editing software, which I think it probably is. Although I don't think you can get plugins for MS Paint. What would you add? MS Paint is so bad. It's like the notepad of video editing software. That's a harsh criticism for anything. It's the notepad of anything. Anyway, I'm rambling. Sorry, I'm in a rambly mood. But yeah, so I think I already have Windows Movie Maker, the kind that you mentioned. But I will look for the plugin and see if I can do split screen and teach myself how. The only thing I need though for that is time. So, Zach, also, video conversion. I Google it. I usually end up using media.io on the internet, so that I don't have to download anything, because then you can just put your video in and it'll convert it for you and spit it back out, which I think is great, but I don't know what file type yours is. I recommend just Googling around, though. Google is your friend. Raven, a lot of people I know listen to the sort of music that you mentioned, and I admire all of you guys for that, because I could never really get into it. Like, it always kind of sounded the same to me, and I would think, like, I'm sure there's intricacies in here that I just don't get. So, good job getting them. Chris, have fun in Portugal. That's awesome. Also, I have a question for you music-y people who would probably know this. It's a silly question, which is that Bring Him Home, I'm assuming you mean like the Les Mis song, and I want to know, even in people who, in the communities music-y of people who aren't doing the show, is it like if you mention Bring Him Home, do you know that it's the Les Mis one? Like, I'm guessing that the one that you mentioned, that the one that you mentioned is that, because it's high and it's kind of the sort of thing that people would use for a voice audition. Not audition, voice lesson. They're using it for the auditions, though, at my school. Bring him home. There we go, guys. I should be Jean Valjean. That was so awful. It sounded so bad. Which is why I don't sing it. Anyway. But yeah, I figured I'd ask because I have no idea how the music community works. I'm not part of it. Today in choir, Wilson, our choir teacher, was talking about, like, and Fontaine is all in her chest voice. so don't use your head voice. And I was just like, I thought the vocal cords were like right here. I don't speak music community language at all, so I apologize for the ramblingness in this video. I know it's been very, very rambly, because what I've been doing is I've been talking a lot and then I'll just stop. And then there'll be a period of silence as I'm just like, wait, what was it? Well, I was going to say something else. What do I say? But so see you guys this week and stuff.